Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas Chabros with Macdonald Realty. We are here with our good friend and mortgage broker, Atrina Kouroshnia from Citywide Mortgages. And today we're going to talk all about first-time buyers. Now, I love working with first-time buyers. I've been in the real estate business for over 9 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with so many of them. And honestly, one of the reasons is because they are like a deer in headlights. They have no idea what to do, and that's okay. And that's what I'm here for. That's what Atrina is here for. And today we're going to talk all about them. So Atrina, how are you today?
Hi, Nick. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Fantastic. So as mentioned, we're talking about first-time buyers. Typically when I have someone come to me and say, Nick, I want to buy my first place, my usual response is, hey, that's fantastic. Good for you. Do you have any questions? They usually reply by saying, yes, what do I do? It's usually a very broad, a very general question. And as we go through the steps of the home buying process, those questions become a little bit more specific in terms of the situation during that process. And first thing I say, well, have you talked to a mortgage broker? Have you gone to your bank about seeing what you can afford? And that's the first step. That's what you need to do, and that's where you come in. So would you like to talk a little bit about the financing process?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the first question that I get from clients is, I want to know how much I qualify for, which is a great question. And I scale it back and I say, well, we qualify you using your before tax income. So let's scale it back a little bit and see what you're comfortable paying, because maybe what I qualify you for is much higher than what you actually want to spend. So let's work back and work with a budget. So I work with clients, we do a budget where they take their take-home income, whatever after their paycheck, taxes are gone, government taxes are gone, and then they subtract all of their living expenses that are a necessity to them. Again, this is personal because it could be something that's a necessity to one person, may differ from person to person. So I ask them to do this exercise. And then they have a section where they contribute to savings. Once all of those costs are gone, they're left with what's called their housing costs, their total housing costs for the month. From there, I put estimated condo fees, estimated property taxes, and whatever's left in that should be essentially their mortgage. If that mortgage is in line with what they're looking for with the purchase price, great. If not, then we have to go back into that expense sheet and see where they can make those adjustments early on from the beginning to make sure that they're comfortable with the mortgage they're getting.
Exactly. I know from past experience, a lot of people will say, oh, I can't afford to buy a house, or I can't afford to buy a condo or a townhouse. And again, I say, well, have you checked with a mortgage broker or your bank? Maybe you can. And a lot of people just are unaware of the process and that they can actually afford their very own place. And being a first-time buyer, you have a lot of emotions. You're excited, you're stressed, you're a little bit nervous. But there's nothing more exciting than being able to move out of your parents' place and having something that you can call your own. And it's up to people like you and me to help guide them through that process. And again, I don't know about you, but it's very exciting for me as well. I love working with first-time buyers.
Absolutely.
So again, it's very important to know what you're working with. So if you're, say, pre-approved up to $500,000, then it gives not only you something to work with and them, but also me as well. I'm not going to show them anything that is $1 million if they're only approved for up to 500,000. So that's the first step. Talk to a mortgage broker or go to your bank. I do have a question for you though, Atrina.
Yeah.
What benefit or why would someone want to speak to a mortgage broker like yourself rather than going directly to their bank that maybe they've had since they got their first job at 15 years of age?
Sure. And I mean, this question I get asked a lot. They say, I've been banking with my bank since I was 10, or I had, the Leo account with RBC or whatever it was. It doesn't work that way in that aspect that the longer your relationship with the bank, the better rates and products you're getting. It's essentially just comes down to volume. So if you're getting a lot of mortgages, if you have a lot of investments, if you have maybe private banking with them, maybe the rates they give you would be a little bit more competitive, but most likely that's not going to be the case, because a broker like myself, we are dealing with volume. So myself and people in my office, they're sending a lot more volume of deals to any particular lender that any individual would be in their lifetime. And because of that relationship, because of volumes, we can get best rates. Now that's just one component. Going to your bank, they can only offer you their own products. So you may or you may not qualify within their guidelines, or maybe they don't have a program that suits your needs, or maybe their details of the mortgage isn't something that you're looking for. Maybe you want more flexibility with your mortgage, a lower penalty. When you go to a broker, they can be flexible and provide you with that information on a broad perspective instead of just focusing on one product. Now, as a licensed mortgage broker in BC, we do have to disclose our fees, and we also have to disclose if there's any if there are any conflicts of interest, or if a lender is giving us an extra commission or a trip. So really it is in their buyer's best interest, because we could be upfront and forward with them, and they get to choose what product is most suitable for them.
Right. That's fantastic, because a lot of people, again, as you said, that stick with their bank that they've had since they were 10 years old. They like to work with them, but sometimes they don't give you the best product or the best service. And that's where you come in, where you can work with other lenders to help get them exactly what they want.
Exactly. Yeah. And then a lot of times when you are working with a branch, I mean, that's not always the case, but you could be dealing with multiple people throughout your process, which can be frustrating. I know I had to deal with that on my own mortgage when I first got it. And you know, with a broker, you're dealing with one person. You have a relationship with that one person. You don't have to explain yourself and your situation multiple times to every different person that's picking up your file. So there's a little bit more of a communication ease there as well. And I think it just, with that relationship in mind, especially if you're working with someone long term, they can have your better interest in mind, because they know your goals and your vision for your real estate empire that you're trying to build.
Empire, I like that. That's perfect. All right. So once we have a ballpark number, now that's where I come in more or less. Now we start focusing on what kind of property that they want. So I always ask them, well, do you have any wants and needs? Because sometimes location is very important to them. Sometimes the size or the age of a home takes precedence. Sometimes just being close in terms of distance to work or school is also very important. So I ask first-time buyers to write down your wants and needs, and then we'll take it from there. I put them on a property search. I send them properties to review. And if there's anything that comes up that looks appealing to them, we'll make an appointment, we'll go view it, and we'll take it from there. Once they find the perfect property, you know, it's exactly what they want, it's within the ballpark in terms of price. Now we go to make an offer, we get it accepted. Very exciting. Now from there, you come into play again to work out those financial details. So can you explain a little bit about how it works once we have the accepted offer?
Yes, and this becomes a very exciting time, as you mentioned, and it could be a very stressful time as well, because generally for financing, we get, you know, maybe a week for financing to sort everything through. So this is why it's very, very important that when they are doing a pre-approval with me, I get all of their documents up front. I want their employment letters, I want their T4s, I want their notice of assessments, because we don't want to run into any hiccups down the line. Oh, I thought your income was this much, but on paper is actually lower. So really, I won't do a pre-approval until I have all the documents, because at the same time, I would be wasting their time giving them incorrect information. During the subject removal period, we finalize those details. So we have the income documents, we ask for an updated pay stub, maybe an updated employment letter if the letter has been, you know, it's been a while since we got it. We ask for updated down payment information. And if we have most of those information on hand already, it's a lot easier adding a couple of updated ones than getting everything from the start. So
Right.
really, really, really important, yeah, to get everything at the pre-approval stage, because a lot of your documents aren't going to change. Your tax returns don't need to be updated. It's just a couple of pay stubs maybe that you would need to send me. And within that time, I would present the options to the borrower. I would say, these are the lenders, these are the rates, these are the features of the mortgage. Because again, it's never just about the rate. You could be getting an excellent rate with one lender with a huge penalty. And people don't go into a home and a mortgage thinking they're going to break it, but it happens. And it happens quite often. So it's good to know your other options. So within that time, we get financing sorted. You probably have a home inspection, being scheduled at that time. And once everything is firm and complete, then I let the borrowers and you let them know that, hey, Jane and John's financing is set and you can remove subjects. So usually borrowers know that until I give them the green light, things are still being processed and things are still being reviewed. So removing financing clause or removing subjects is putting them at a risk when financing isn't done yet. Once it's done, it's great. They can remove subjects. They, of course, give you the deposit, and I'll let you take it from there for the next steps.
Perfect. Yeah, you did touch upon a couple of things there, is that once we do get an accepted offer, and included in your offer are what are called subject conditions. And this includes subject to financing that Atrina has kindly talked about. There's also going to be a subject to inspection, a subject to reviewing strata documents in case if you're buying a condo or a townhouse, subject to property insurance, and a few others as well. And typically, your offer will go between a subject removal period of 7 to 10 days, typically. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little bit more, but that's the average, 7 to 10 days. And you have this time where you're not on the hook for anything. You have this time to do your due diligence, making sure that the financing is okay. You do an inspection with a professional home inspector. You make sure everything's okay and there's no red flags. You review all the strata documents to make sure that there's nothing going on in the building or the complex that you're buying into. And typically you're able to review the last 2 years of strata minutes. So you have this time to make the decision to go forward. Typically, deals will fall apart, and I've had a few of them in my time because of either financing, because they didn't have all their financial work in order, or because of the inspection. Perhaps there's something that goes wrong, or there's red flags that pop up, which is unfortunate. But once we get to the subject removal stage, it's just typically a one-page document. You sign off on the property, you remove subjects, and you've officially bought your first place. Very exciting. Pop the champagne bottle. It's great. Now, from there, depending on when you as the buyer and the seller have agreed of when completion and possession day, and the typical time is 60 days on average from when you remove subjects to when you get the keys. So during that time, there's really not much to do except to start packing and getting ready for your first place. Again, very exciting. I can't stress enough that it's so fun to work with first-time buyers. And the average first-time buyer that we've come across over the years have been in the age range of 25 to 35. Atrina, I don't know if you've seen either younger or even older first-time buyers.
I have some first-time home buyers right now that are older, and it's just the market that we live in. We live in a very expensive city, and sometimes it takes people longer. But I mean, you could be at any age entering the market for the first time, and good for you. You're making a change, you're investing in your future, you're purchasing your own home. And whatever age you're at, there's always going to be resources for you that can help you with it. And just to touch base on what you said, it's a very exciting time. Super, super exciting time, but you just have to make sure that you don't change anything within that time frame. Don't quit your job and become self-employed. Don't get a new car loan. Don't get a lease. Don't co-sign for anyone, because after subject removal, you're going into a firm binding agreement. And if you change something, if you lose your job, or if you quit your job, or you get a fancy new truck, well, those numbers may no longer be in line and your financing may be pulled. So very, very important that you don't make any changes. If there's something that you have to do, let's say your car broke down and you need to put a little bit of money on your line of credit to get the car repaired, speak with your broker first and say, hey, if I'm going to do this, would it have an impact on my financing? And they could do the calculations really quickly for you and let you know if that's a thing or not. And if it's a thing, then just wait until your financing's done before you do anything.
Right. Good point. Throughout the home buying process, you do work with a handful of professionals, including a realtor, a mortgage broker. You're also going to meet, again, as I mentioned earlier, a professional home inspector, typically for your home. You're also going to meet either a notary or a real estate lawyer to perform all the closing documents. And you're going to meet them typically on the completion day, whatever day that may be, to sign off and the purchase of your first property. Very exciting. Usually a few days after completion is the possession day, and it's my pleasure to hand over the keys to you as a new homeowner. And it's very exciting, and it's something I always look forward to. Atrina, if you have anything else to add in there?
The only other thing I want to stress on, because my clients always, especially first-time home buyers, they confuse possession date and completion date. So possession date is when Fabulous Nick gives you the keys to the house. Completion date is when you become the owner of the new property. So that's when your name gets registered on title and the mortgage gets advanced. And for any kind of insurance purposes, to make sure that you're protected and your contents are protected and the strata is protected, make sure that you have your insurance as of your completion date. Just because you don't have the keys in your hand doesn't mean you're not the owner yet.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Atrina.
Welcome. Thank you.
So for all you first-time buyers out there, if you're thinking about purchasing a new home in either 2020, or if it's 6 months from now or 12 months from now, or if you know anyone that's even thinking about it, please feel free to reach out to Atrina or myself. We would absolutely love to help. For all the latest news and insights into the world of real estate, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you again, Atrina Kouroshnia from Citywide Mortgages. I'm Nicholas Chabros with Macdonald Realty.